All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Millennial Trades. It's December 13th, 2022. Is it really the 13th? Gosh. All right. At least it's not Friday, right? We're getting closer and closer to the new year. What an absolutely epic day to the downside, right? Kind of bearishly, actually. The markets did end up, NASDAQ I think is up about 1%, but you got to understand during the pre-market when the inflation data came out, the CPI this morning, about a month ago when the CPI came out, the market gapped up. Well, it happened again, but there wasn't as much momentum because we still have the interest rates coming out tomorrow. It might be Thursday, but the FOMC meeting begins the next couple of days here. So really big week. Stock market gapped up in pre-market. You're talking everything from the NASDAQ to the S&P 500 to the Dow. Volatility index had gapped down. So things were looking really, really, really good. Market opens up. I actually did catch a move to the upside on PayPal. I know I've been trying to trade Amazon, trade some other stocks, but I went ahead and traded PayPal again because I'm so comfortable with the price action, baby. I'm telling you, you study these stocks so much and you kind of just, it's like trading in a zone. I don't know how to explain it, but I went back to PayPal, caught a quick move to the upside that yielded me over $600. I had to put on about 20 contracts to do that, but it was a pretty stress-free trade. It was literally less than like a 20-minute trade. And then it was out and I left, did a little bit of shopping, bought some new clothes, you know what I'm saying? Because I got to enjoy my life too, right? This is why I'm trying to trade. But not only that, I cooked dinner for my family. And, life is good. I am blessed. I am so blessed by God. I'm still living with family and, trying to get my shit together, but I'm stacking money, I'm building wealth, and I have all of these new skills that I could have never dreamed of having 4 or 5 years ago. So it's absolutely amazing. I just can't tell you guys how incredibly blessed by God I really am. And all of us are. We all have opportunities, and every single day, God is speaking to us. So we need to listen to him. And so I'm trying to just be intuitive, right? I kind of like the idea of being an intuitive trader. I'm trading news. The only reason I caught that scalp was because there was a little bit of momentum left. I knew that PayPal wasn't quite at that supply zone yet. There was a little bit of momentum left. There was a little bit of a pullback, but right at the dip, the first couple of minutes. But PayPal moved up. I literally sold at $9.50. You can see this on the stories. I sold at $9.50 and it was a nice fat green candle. And I was like, hey, I'm going to take that profit because as traders, we can kind of get caught up in this mindset of like, oh, well, I'm up $600, right? If I just hold a little bit longer, I might be up $1,200. And that is a terrible route to go down. I set targets and my targets are very, very near to where my entries are. A lot of people set crazy targets. It's like I don't have the math skills or the statistical analysis skills to project that far into the future or that high up in price. So my targets are like let's say PayPal opens at 95, drops to 88 within a couple of minutes. Well, that would actually be a really huge move. Let's say it goes from 95 to like 90. Well, I might pick some shares or maybe like a few option contracts up at 90 with a target at 95, hoping it needs to retest that recent area that it dropped from. So my point is that my targets are very near to where my entries are. I'm scalping the absolute fuck out of these trades, and my precision is fairly good, or it has been the past few months. I've only had like really 2 big, huge losing days. One of the days I think I lost $1,900, and the second day I think it was like close to that. It might have been like $1,500 or something. And I post all of this stuff. It's all on my Instagram. It should be in my shorts feed here on YouTube. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow me at Millennial Trades, and you can see all my trades. I post my wins, my losers, because I trade like once a day, literally once a day. And the other thing is, well, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, you don't have to make that much money. Like if it's not like I'm shooting for $3,000 or something on every trade. No, I can put a couple $1,000s into the trade. Doesn't mean I'm risking all of that, but that's what it takes to put the trade on. I'm watching it very carefully, and I can scalp $300 out of that very easily. And everybody else could too. Everybody could do this if they would just take the time to learn. I mean, you got to learn the software, you got to learn the price action, you got to learn about the volume, you got to eventually pay attention to the news, and that is, something I should stress more. There was something else I wanted to mention here too. What was it? Oh, the volatility, taking advantage of the volatility on the options contract. This is extremely important. This is I got to get this out in this video. The reason I'm scalping and I'm using options as the instrument to scalp is because the volatility on options contracts is absolutely amazing. I mean, imagine if you're holding 20 contracts and each one goes up $30, $40, $50. That can add up very, very quickly, and then you can just exit the trade easily as long as it's a liquid, like mainstream stock. PayPal is getting a little bit more illiquid, but it's still, I've really learned that stock, and you should follow one or two stocks and try to trade those if you're going to use that kind of strategy, in my opinion. But obviously not financial advice, because it's very risky, and you have to know what you're doing. But taking advantage of the volatility, because once the option contract goes up $50, right, if the stock starts to slow down, right, whatever move created that, whether it's an up move or, you could be playing calls, you could be playing puts, all right, you could be playing either way, up or down. But let's say the contracts move $30 in your favor, right, and let's say you have 20 of them. So that's, 30 times 20, I think that's 600, 30 times 20, let me check. Oh man, I probably sound like an idiot right now. I actually 30 times 20. Yeah, that's $600. Okay. So I do not have a math disability. I can do math in my head. I always have to convince myself of that because I don't really like math, and thinking about numbers jumbles up my brain. And that's why I didn't even think I would be into trading or could get into it at first, because I was like, oh, it probably involves a lot of math. I do zero math. All right. If anybody thinks you have to have math skills to scalp option contracts, you don't. Okay, I barely even look at the Greeks. I'm just looking at my strike price. As long as the delta is like over 30, that's usually pretty good. And my strike price is just a couple dollars out of the money usually. Sometimes I'll buy in the money, but those get more expensive. Once the option contracts move, you got to take advantage of the volatility, because let's say the stock goes up and you got calls, and now you're up $30, $40, $50 on each contract. So you're up $600, $800, whatever it is. You need to take advantage of that volatility, because whatever move created that in the stock, if the stock does not immediately continue going in your favor and it starts chopping around, or worse, it pulls back and comes back to the area where you bought the contracts at, you're going to lose all those gains, and then probably some. And it's going to be very stressful. It might still go back up higher later or whatever, but it could also just go down. In my opinion, it's better to take advantage of the opening volatility, because these moves are a little bit, I don't want to say predictable, but intuitively they make a little bit more sense right at the open. And once you get past the open, things can get choppy, things can turn around. But when you're up on your contracts, let's say you have two contracts on and they're both up $20. So you're up $40 for the day and your account is like $1,000. You need to take advantage of that volatility, because the next day you wake up, instead of having $1,000 in your account, you have $1,040 in your account. And maybe the second day you trade, let's say you might get an even better trade and you'll be up like $100 that day. And you just quit. You take advantage of the volatility, you sell those contracts, and you quit. So if you can build up some days like this, you can imagine with $1,000 or less. I did it with $300. Again, I put $300 cash in my trading account, and I built it up. I have like over $8K in the account today, and I've made, I don't know, probably $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of deposits. into my bank accounts. So, it's a blessing from God, because there's nowhere else in the world where you could make that kind of money that I can think of. Like, there's no job out there that would pay me that much and allow me to live more comfortably and with a little bit more ease, and being able to actually build some wealth. Because you can work a job, but you're never going to work your way to $1 million. It's impossible. The more time you spend at the job, the further you're getting from the $1 million. It's true. And I've lived that life, and it's very scary. It's extremely scary. But it's also scary at almost 35 years old to just say, fuck all of that mainstream shit. I'm going to bet my life on trading. That's scary too. Some days I feel insane. This is really a vlog style video. We should talk more about the markets, but I'm trying to offer you guys some insight into what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why it's working for me. And again, you can see all the trades. I want you guys to look at the trades on Instagram. I want you to follow me at Millennial Trades and follow my trades. Follow the process. They're quick videos too. It's not like, it's not like a live stream or something like that. If you're on Instagram or if you watch YouTube Shorts, I've got a ton of shorts on there that pretty much explain the game. You can see the contracts. I even show what time I bought the contracts. 9:31, 9:32, whatever. Sold at 9:50 today. I was in that trade for less than 20 minutes. So it's been a long road. Where are we at? Oh, that's only like 11 minutes. I got time to talk about the markets. Again, the U.S. inflation rate came in a little bit better than expected. I think it was actually up only 0.1% instead of some of the estimates were like it would be up 0.3%. And it's down from some of the October high. So these are multiple months now that inflation is cooling down. Now, year over year, it's still at like 7.1%. All right, but in October, it was at 7.7%. So the inflation is still going up. 7.1% is unacceptable. Like somebody should be trying to do something about it, and they will, right? The FOMC starts tomorrow. So they are going to do something about it. I won't be surprised if it's a 75 basis point rate hike, but right now, there's so much propaganda telling me 50 basis points, and I don't want to like end up eating crow. So I'm not going to bet on it overnight. But tomorrow I'll take advantage of any volatility that I can sort of scalp from. These are very unexpected times. I will not be surprised if the Fed raises rates higher than 50 basis points, but there's just no way to really be able to tell. I put a lot of risk on the table overnight for that last trade a month ago where I made, like $8,000. That trade was awesome, but it was extremely stressful holding that shit overnight. I'm telling you, like I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was watching pre-market and just anticipating the inflation data. So I didn't want to spend tonight like that. So I did not put any overnight trades on, and I got like $8,000 in my account. I've got thousands of dollars in cash in the banks. It's like, I don't need to risk I just don't need to do it tonight. I was up $600 on the day, but the inflation rate came in year over year at 7.1%. So it's cooling off, right? The CPI is cooling off. The PPI was actually a little bit higher than expectations, and the market didn't like that. But the market didn't necessarily like these inflation numbers either, because all that pre-market nonsense, like that's mainly, I guess, futures traders, maybe some stock traders in there, but that's what pushes the market up. In the morning, and it's like in the pre-market. So when that happened, you should have seen the NASDAQ, I think, gapped up nearly 4%, something like that. It was up almost 5% in pre-market. S&P 500 gapped up, Dow gapped up. I mean, these were crazy moves, and the market just came right back down. I mean, even though the NASDAQ ended up on the day 1%, right, which is good, right? That's good, but not really. We're still in the gulag, and if you saw the actual price action, it was up a lot higher than that, and it pulled back substantially. I mean, the down move for people that got caught up with the FOMO, because sometimes, especially in bull markets, when it gaps up, it'll just keep going higher for months before it ever has to fill the gap. And, that's probably what caused a lot of the crashes in some of these stocks. They had gaps to fill. But yeah, trading these gap up moves, it's risky, but there's a lot of volatility, especially early in the morning. And so I was using the inflation data. The fact that it came in cooler and the markets were rallying on that in pre-market, there was a little bit of more moment. There was a little bit more momentum to scalp out of that to the upside. And that's what I did. I'm sure a lot of people did that as well. U.S. stocks end volatile session higher. I mean, yeah, they end volatile session higher, but the volatility, was to the upside in pre-market. And once the market opened, everything came down. Volatility index went back up. The dollar on the daily this morning, I don't have the dollar in front of me right now. Let me see if I can get the currencies here. You guys can see all of this at tradingeconomics.com. Let's see where the DXY is. Yeah, DXY down like 1%. There's a lot of talk about the dollar continuing this down move. I don't necessarily think so. I'm anticipating the dollar strengthening, and not just the DXY, but the value of the actual dollar, what we can buy with it, how it's going to affect some of the other countries. I think that's something that really needs to be paid attention to, because you got bankers like Jamie Dimon saying that the more the dollar surges, right, if it does turn around from this down move the last couple of months and continues higher, it's going to crush companies and banks and economies, people's finances in other countries, other nations around the world, especially the developing markets. I suppose that's a lot of South America, maybe a lot of Asia, some parts of Africa. So what's it called? ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance policy. I'm sure a lot of the banks, they're motivated by this, these sort of, I don't want to get too political here, but these sort of globalist ideas, like even Jamie Dimon. I like listening to the guy. He's got a lot of very interesting concepts that you can like spend a few moments trying to wrap your mind around, because the guy is extremely intelligent. But you can't just look at that either, because he has an agenda. He wants more global governance. Like, he wants more treaties, more trade deals. He wants the U.S. to be entangled in all kinds of different deals with Asia and Europe and bringing everybody on board. And it's like, these are sort of globalist ideas. He even, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2017, we're not sure if he was referring to Trump or just referring to Americans in general, but he essentially said that he cannot believe all the stupid shit that he has to listen to in D.C. as if he's like a government official. Why? He's always in D.C. trying to push new government policies, right, that his bank can profit from. So we have to understand that, right? He's a great guy. I'm not saying he's a crook or anything. I mean, J.P. Morgan has been fined billions of dollars in the last few years for all kinds of things. And I know they were convicted of spoofing the precious metals market. So I'm not saying Jamie Dimon is a crook. And I think he's a very charismatic guy. He's obviously extremely intelligent. But that being said, he wants America to be more entangled in trade deals, right? 100%, because the banks will benefit from that, right? They'll benefit from it. So it's like, you just have to take all that into consideration. It's the same with these guys from BlackRock, Larry Fink, most of these traders, and hedge fund managers and bankers. This is the kind of mindset they have. And a lot of them don't like Trump, because Trump was trying to remove us from a lot of these pacts that don't necessarily benefit Americans. They may benefit the banks. I'm not saying they don't benefit the banks. They probably, these trade deals, whether it's NAFTA or, the Paris Climate Accord, it could be any of these globalist kind of deals and agreements, treaties, whatever you want to call them, charters. But it's like, I'm sure they do benefit the banks, but they don't necessarily benefit Americans. And the other thing is, too, is you have, even Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. Obviously, the Fed can't push any domestic or fiscal kind of policies, but they sort of hint at the fact that the federal government should bring in more people because it'll help our economy, right? It'll get us out of this potential stagflation or deflation or persistent inflation. That's their agenda, right? That is the agenda of the financiers of the world. And maybe they're right, and maybe it's God's will. We really have to pray about this. I don't think we should get angry at their words. I don't think we should be angry at these people because they're obviously put here by God for some reason. The financiers, the people that are managing the money supply, managing Americans' savings and wealth and stocks, and managing, the finance world. These people obviously are blessed, and we should listen to them, but we should also be wary because even they sometimes need to be called out, right? Nobody's above that, obviously. If there's things that are policies that are bad for everyday Americans, it's absolutely okay to speak up about that and to talk about it on social media. And you see that trend more and more because look at Elon Musk taking over Twitter right now. Twitter, I'm not going to say Twitter is a free speech absolutist platform. It obviously isn't, but it's like all these liberals that are leaving Twitter, they're not getting kicked off of Twitter. They're just leaving Twitter, which is fine. If they want to leave Twitter, that's fine. But it's good to see that the option for even Donald Trump to come back to Twitter, I think that's really going to legitimize platforms. And you see other platforms like Rumble with Peter Thiel. And I know he's probably some deep state billionaire agent, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Peter Thiel. I really like the Rumble platform. Again, it's not a free speech absolutist platform. It's probably impossible to have something like that. And maybe it would be dangerous, right? to not to parrot the mainstream media here. But yeah, so I think that's the new trend is a democratization, a real democratization of the internet with new technologies. Some of these platforms may become irrelevant. The whole TikTok phenomenon, I still am not on TikTok, don't plan on getting on TikTok. I don't like the fact that it's from China. I just don't. It's like I have a choice. And I'm not saying that the American social media platforms are any less bad, but at least they're still kind of like American companies. And with TikTok, you've got governments trying to ban it now. You've had the American government, the FCC talking about bans. So it's risky to build a platform on something that the American government is going to potentially attack, right? As powerful as it is. And I think the dollar, I think America, we're in a position of strength. To quote Jamie Dimon, I do agree with that. I think this country's blessed by God. I think we're all blessed by God. And I really pray for a solution in Ukraine. I just saw in the news today, America is finally supplying them with Patriot missiles, right? First, for Biden, it was like a hard no. We're not going to supply Ukraine with the Patriot missiles. And then later on, they were kind of talking about it the last few months. And now they are. They've agreed to send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. So what does that mean? Well, potentially Ukraine is going to start firing missiles deep into Russia, maybe even Moscow. I don't know. That are financed and provided for by the United States. Probably we're going to train them as well how to use them. This is a dangerous game that Biden is. I don't know. I mean, obviously Biden's not the only one in control, but whoever is in control, they want this war to drag on, obviously, right? Because the war could have ended. Zelensky could end this tomorrow if he really wanted to, and he doesn't. In my opinion, he's dragging that entire country and the rest of the world into possibly a nuclear confrontation. That's my opinion. And it's extremely, extremely scary to see that we're getting this close. You have Putin and the U.S. They're basically blackmailing each other, with the nuclear threat. having missiles from Ukraine being shot deep into Russia, provided for by the United States. I can only imagine where all of this is going to go. You have Europe as well struggling to get the energy that they really need to get them through the winter. Will Europe get through this winter? It's looking like, yes, they probably will. Nobody's going to freeze or starve to death. But there's the winter after that. There's the long-term effects of just all that Russian, natural gas and oil and energy being cut off from countries like Germany, the UK. I think both of them are actually turning coal plants back online just in case, it gets really bad this winter. They can start, burning coal again. So getting closer to zero carbon emissions. All these electric cars with no infrastructure for them. What are these people doing? It really makes, even Elon Musk, what are these people doing? Jamie Dimon, to mention him again, had some very interesting comments about this. And he said that oil and gas is essential to using less coal, especially for emerging markets, because emerging markets are still using coal. All right. And even China, getting them to use more oil and gas gets them to use less coal, which also reduces the CO2 emissions. It's a key play. We need oil and gas, and I think we're starting to see the potential for, like, when governments just get out of hand, or oil supplies dry up, supply lines for whatever reason dry up, whether it's the government or war or viruses. We're starting to see the long-term effects of this, and hopefully we'll pray for Europe. I think Europe will be okay this winter, but I do get comments. I'm getting comments from people in the UK, from people in Germany. I get a few comments from people in the Ukraine. And it's good because it gives me intelligence. It gives me a little bit of intel, a little bit of insight, because I hope I'm not off here. But this is my understanding. And this war in Ukraine, I really hope that we can find some sort of solution to it. That's what I pray for. That's my main prayer, is that Zelensky, Putin, Biden, that they will come together and find a solution, because this cannot drag on from administration to administration. I mean, it's just unacceptable, in my opinion. So with that, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I hope you liked the video. It was a little bit more of a rant, just some things I've been thinking about the last few days and everything I've been watching. But if I missed anything, as always, let me know in the comment section down below. Give the video a like. Follow me on Instagram @MillennialTrades. And as always, until next time, I'll see you on the next video.